Hey everybody, it's Dr. Oubre and Aubree.
Hi.
Today we're going to be going, or this month we've been talking about detoxification and toxins and all that. So in this video we're going to be talking about supplements and how supplements can help you detoxify. But I always feel like we need to make a caveat that if you haven't seen our other 3 videos, we just put tons and tons and tons of emphasis on the other 3 videos. This is the small part. Yes, and we're going to try to make this video short as we try to make all of them short, quote unquote. But I want to remind you that you must start avoiding toxins before you ever take a supplement for detoxification, before you ever fall prey to some marketing saying you need to take this to detoxify, even from us. You need to make sure that you are not retoxing yourself with toxic foods, toxic product. Our 4 basic categories are clean air, clean food, clean water, clean products. And if you don't know what those mean, go back to our first video, second video, just watch them all. Actually, just start from the beginning. First video, for sure. So you have to stop retoxifying yourself before you can even expect to detoxify. After you're not retoxifying yourself, then you have to eat healthier foods, which will come with the retoxification. But foods are going to detoxify you faster than any supplement that you can possibly take. So now that I've made our preface to this discussion, we're going to talk about the supplements that we use to detoxify. But this is a very complicated process. Your body's detoxification is very, very complicated. And I don't want to act like we understand it all or know all the answers. It's constantly evolving and we're learning and changing.
Discretion, do not detox on your own. Do not detox without a provider.
Yeah.
Because there's so many moving parts and it's so intricate, and we've been doing it for a long time and we feel like we've not nailed it down really well, and every single person's different. So please do not do this on your own.
Yeah. With that being said, we're going to tell you the supplements to take. So,
but I mean,
I guess she means don't aggressively detoxify.
Don't aggressively. You can help reduce the burden if you'd like.
Yes, and if you're having symptoms or side effects while you're detoxifying, that is not a win. You are making your situation worse, not better. So it's always nice if you work. Yes, you're going to work with us. Reach out to a functional medicine provider, take our courses, learn more, whatever it may be. So the way I'm going to kind of go through this detoxification supplements is I'm going to talk about oh, thank you. We're not recording our video. That button. There we go. Okay, so now I'm recording on the iPad. So I'm going to go over how to detoxify on the iPad as far as the protocol I've kind of drummed up, and that will help you understand why we use the supplements we use. Now, I go over this a lot more in my online course, but this will be the basic of how to detoxify. So in the beginning, whenever you have a toxin, so here's a toxin, the big red box, you can either be exposed to that toxin or you can avoid that toxin. So that's why we spent the first several videos talking about avoiding the toxin so that you were never exposed. Because if you were exposed, then most likely if you didn't have adequate detoxification pathways, then you stored that toxin. Once that toxin is stored and then you're ready to detoxify because you've made yourself healthier, gotten out of the toxic exposure, whatever it may be, then you're ready to get that toxin out. But say this toxin is stored in your brain. There's no brain juice that you go to the bathroom for. There's no brain liquid coming out. So the brain can't just magically detoxify and poof goes the toxin. That brain toxin has to go from the brain out of the body. And your outlets of the body are poop, urine, and sweat. Those are the 3 outlets. And there is no brain sweat. That got a cheer. There is no, can I get an amen? How does the brain going to get that toxin from the brain to the stool, urine, or sweat? That's a process that it's going to go through. And so the 3 steps are, number 1 is the brain has to mobilize that toxin. It has to take the toxin out of its own tissue and put it in the bloodstream. The brain is not a detox organ. So it's got to put it in the bloodstream. And while it's in the bloodstream, it's going to circle the body until it meets the liver. Not all of the blood goes to the liver. A portion of the blood goes to the liver. And so that toxin may have to go around the body 3 or 4 or 5 times before it meets the liver. Not only does it have to meet the liver has to have the capacity to detoxify it. And the reason why I'm saying all that is because if you're eating terrible foods and you're not in a great detox place, or you're not taking detox supplements, the golden arrows show that you can go backwards. So the brain mobilized the toxin, it never actually went anywhere, and so now it goes back into storage. It may not go back to the brain, it may go to your foot or your hip or your kidney or your lung or whatnot, but yeah, the hips are the common place for toxins in these videos. And so, so it's important to know that you've got to be supporting your liver as you're mobilizing these toxins. And then after the liver processes it, now you have an inactive toxin and it's ready to leave the body. And that elimination portion, we're going to emphasize that because if you're only pooping pooping every 11 days, then you're probably not detoxifying very adequately through the stool. That's horrible, but believe it or not, it has happened. And if you're not sweating, if you're not going out in the heat, if you're not sauna, if you're not making sure you sweat regularly, then you're missing that detoxification phase. And what we don't know is we don't know in the body which ways the body likes to get rid of toxins. We have ideas and we're learning, but one toxin may like to come out through the sweat and another may like to come out in the urine. So that's the other thing. Are you drinking enough water? Are you giving the body the opportunity to put enough toxins in the urine? Because if you hang out too long in any one of these stages, you just go backwards and then end up back in the storage. Okay? So I could talk for hours on this protocol right here, as everyone knows, but I won't. It's in my course. I talk for hours if you want to. So go there. Hours. Shut up.
It's good.
So, it is great. So the flip side of this protocol is that we added supplements to this, but I'm going to reemphasize that food is much more important than supplements. But in this realm, of course, the toxins, the first thing is to avoid the toxins by filtered water, organic food, clean products, all that stuff that we talked about in the first several videos. But then you get into some of the supplements to speed up this detoxification process. Now, I will talk about it as a forward cycle, but we actually always start bottom up, literally bottom. We start in the stool. We start bottom up. So we're going to start at these lower yellow boxes are where the supplements are added. We're going to start in these yellow boxes and slowly work our way backwards. Now, that's not entirely true. Sometimes we start with other stuff, but that's the basics as we start from the bottom. We're going to start from storage because that makes more sense. So,
yeah. And just a heads up that these are just the most common ones, but every person gets a little bit more than this, to be honest with you, and different ones. So
yeah. So in the idea of stored toxins, here's the storage of toxins. We want to mobilize those toxins out of the storage into the bloodstream. So the components we use are phosphatidylcholine, butyrate, fasting. That means like not eating food, fasting. The reason why that stimulates mobilization is because when your body doesn't have carbs, proteins to work on, it's got to use its own carbs and proteins, and that seems to speed up the metabolism, eject fats into the circulation for energy, but also when it's ejecting fats for energy, it's also ejecting the toxins that were buried in that fat. As we talked about in the first video or second video, with a hoarder and closet full of storage, when you fast, it forces your body to go into the closets for energy, and that's how you mobilize. But the big one is phosphatidylcholine that we use. So once the toxins are mobilized, then you have to start processing them. Now, glutathione is here because glutathione is one of the few that can grab a toxin directly in the mobilization, stick to it, and then carry it straight to the urine for urine or sweat for elimination. But mainly the processing vitamins are methylation support, which are B vitamins, and DIM and CDG. So all that methylation support, there's tons of videos on methylation. I don't think I need to beat that horse. Then glutathione is another processing vitamin. And then last but not least, silymarin, dandelion, all those things that speed up the liver processes are all part of that processing phase.
Silymarin's milk thistle.
Yep, yeah, sorry. And then after the liver's processed it, now it's still got to leave the body. Now, the urine and sweat are easy. You drink water, you urinate it out. If you're gonna sweat, you either have to live in Texas or go to the sauna regularly and you can sweat it out, right? But the stool is the complicated part. The reason why the stool is a complicated part is because after the liver's done processing it, it's important to know that the liver detoxifies into the bile. And if you know anything about the human intestinal tract, and we've done lots of videos on that, is that when the liver dumps toxins out of it, it's in the bile. The bile enters the human intestinal tract very early in the duodenum, in the early part of the small intestine. So it has 100 feet of intestines to reabsorb all those toxins that it just put into the bile. And there's biological activity, which means bacteria can actually reactivate detoxified toxins, and they can reactivate them or retox you by undoing what the liver does. Very complicated process. This is why the gut must be intact before you start to detoxify, because you can just retoxify. So one of the ways we speed up the production of bile is by assisting the glucuronidation pathway, and that's a supplement called CDG or DIM, made by Orthomolecular that we use. That speeds up the production of bile. But the problem with bile is 95% of it is reabsorbed. That's what we said in the last diagram. 95% of it is reabsorbed. So we actually use a drug called Questran or cholestyramine to try to bind up that bile so you don't reabsorb it and you poop it out. Now, it doesn't bind up all the bile, but the more bile you can poop out, the less toxins you can reabsorb from the bile. The other thing you can use is you can use fibers, charcoals, and fiber from food, charcoals and clays from products, and those can try to bind the toxins off of the bile. you'll still reabsorb the bile, but the idea is, the charcoal and clay is trying to bind the toxins or whatever is stuck to the bile, rip them off, and then take that to the stool, because you're not going to reabsorb charcoal and clay. You will reabsorb bile, so it's kind of a trading mechanism. So all of those work in order to speed up detoxification. So that's the brief explanation of detoxification. I think I did that in a reasonable amount of time. And Aubree, do you have anything to add to our supplements for detoxification?
Digestive support, which is a whole different video. If you think about, especially the bile, which you were talking about, if you were eating canola oil and hydrogenated oils and toxic fats, you are now actually contributing to more toxic bile. And so if your bile is trying to get those toxins out and now you're adding to it, you're just going to impede the entire detox process as well. Yeah. So digestive support is a whole nother thing, and we have a whole video over that, so make sure that you're
a whole course on that.
A whole course, right. And then there's so many different detoxings that you can do too, right? You can try different homeopathy, different types of drainage for the body. It's all different for everybody, but that's pretty much the basics of it right now.
So we'll summarize with saying the most important thing you can do in detoxification is not buy the latest product, not buy the latest marketing gimmick on how to detoxify. The most important thing you can do is stop the retoxification phase and eat clean, nutritious foods, and your body will naturally start to detoxify. Now, if you've got a full toxin bucket, it may take years to get rid of all those toxins.
That's okay.
But as long as every day you're less toxic than the day before, you're on a winning plan. Keep doing that.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. So like our channel, subscribe, do all the click the bell on YouTube, whatever it may be. I don't know why I'm making a check icon. Share our video with friends, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.